you've ever been to a supermarket or pharmacy or seen a menstrual cup online and been like,
Huh?
what is that? How do I use it? And why would I want to? This video is for you. Hey, welcome or welcome back to the Best Period page. Listen, if you have a vagina or you want your vagina to be great, then make sure you hit that subscribe button because each week I'm going to be sharing videos that help you to do just that. Now, if you've ever seen a menstrual cup in a store, or maybe you heard about it online or from a friend and you're like,
What the heck is that?
then this video is for you, so continue watching. Now let's dive into this. A menstrual cup, also known as a period cup, is a reusable, alternative, and revolutionary solution to period care. Because it's reusable, I don't know if you know this, but more than 20 billion, that's billion with a B, one-time use menstrual products end up in landfills annually. And that's just in the US alone. Pretty ridiculous, right? And even if you don't care about the environmental piece, which like what type of monster are you, but even if you don't care about that, let's talk about it. It's still better for your body because unlike tampons that can create micro tears down there or mess with the body's pH, these are typically made out of medical grade silicone. Not always, but the majority of them are, which keep your pH down there just fine. And in addition to that, you don't have a lot of the chemicals that are laced in tampons and pads these days. And the cool thing about menstrual cups is because they're reusable, that means they're also saving you coin because let's be honest, tampons and pads are expensive AF. So they're pretty dope. Okay, so now let's get into what you're probably really here to find out, and that is how the heck do these things work? So unlike pads and tampons that absorb your menstrual blood, these cute little things here actually collect it. And pause, before you start saying, ooh, gross, nasty, understand that we've been trained by society to believe that our periods are disgusting and that our vaginas are something to be ashamed of. There's nothing disgusting about them. They're a part of your body and no more disgusting than your eye or your finger or your leg, okay? I got distracted and went on a mini rant. However, we're back at it. So it collects the blood. So it collects in here. And the other thing I didn't mention earlier, which is really cool about menstrual cups, is that they often collect more blood than a tampon and a pad would, which means saving you time. So if you have not tracked already, we talked about saving the environment with them, saving you coin, because they can last up to 10 years, though I personally like to recommend that you change every 1 to 2 years, because especially with the clear cups, you may be discoloration, or you want to keep it fresh, okay? What's cool though, specifically with my cup, so I have my Best Period cup here in my hand, is that it can hold up to, what size do I have here? I have the size 1 in my hand. So this one holds 29 milliliters. Let me get the size 2. You can tell I was really prepped for this, huh? The size 2 is 40 milliliters. Both of these hold way more than your average tampon, even more than your super tampon. So this size 2, for instance, can hold up to 4 times as much as a super tampon can. Less changes. How dope is that? But back to teaching you how it works. Now, we're about to have a little mini class. Let's call this thing Veggie. It's a terrible name. I need to do better. Actually, let me know in the comments if you have a better name for this. Let me know in the comments, and going forward, when we're using this to demonstrate, we'll call it whatever you choose. But for now, we're gonna call it Veggie. So with it, just like you would a tampon, you insert up into your vagina. You do the same with the cup. However, you'd fold it first, right? So you have a few different folds. In our instruction manual, we have a few. My favorite is actually the push down fold, which is just pushing it down just like it sounds. And then you squeeze the end. And what it does is just fold it really tiny like that, okay? So you just insert it, tilting it back, right? Because just like this thing, Veggie, our vaginas don't actually go straight up and down. They're actually slanted. So you would tilt it back. But I mean, you could push it up, it just wouldn't be as smooth. I tend to wet it first just so it had some lubrication, so I run it under the water before I do it. And then you put it in, sits right underneath your cervix, which is right here. Can't go further than it so it cannot get lost. And then it pops open when it's in there, okay? And this is where it would sit. Are you learning something? Hit that thumbs up if you're learning something today. And if you're not, that's fine too, still hit it. So it sits here and it collects your menstrual blood. So just to give you a little mini lesson, because some people really don't know this, and if you do know this, then please just hold off for 30 seconds while I explain it. So for those of you who don't know, each month your body prepares for you to conceive. When you don't, your uterine lining, which got nice and thick, hoping that the fertilized egg implants in it, when there's nothing to implant or the implantation fails, then that uterine lining begins to shed. So it sheds and that becomes your period. So when that happens, it travels down the uterus right here, through the cervix and into your cup. Pretty straightforward, right? So when you remove it, what you would do is just pinch the bottom and slowly pull it down, up, keeping it upright. And then you'll dump it into the toilet, rinse it out, clean it up, and insert it once more. And I showed you one of the folds. Another really popular one is called the C fold, which is literally just to fold it in half, and you do the same thing, put it in, and it's open. It does not hurt. You should not feel it actually. Once you put it in, you should be able to move about your day and not even notice it's there. So that was a really quick mini lesson. I'm gonna create whole separate videos that go in depth into the opening and the closing and all the other pieces. But for this video, I just wanted you to know how it works and what the heck it is. Because I know there are so many people who aren't quite sure how it works. And maybe you're wondering, you know, is it gonna get lost? No, it can't go beyond the cervix. So the cervix feels like a little nose, the tip of your nose, but it's right at the top of your vagina. And it cannot get lost. Your vagina on average tends to be 2 to 4, often 3 to 4 inches long. And I know many people are like, what? Yeah, it actually lengthens once you're aroused. But anyway, the whole point of this is that it cannot go further than the cervix. So it's not a matter of it getting lost. The problem is some cups stems are super small, or some cups are made for super short cervixes, and maybe you have a longer one. And it may be more difficult to grab the stem, which is why for my best period cup, I made sure that the stem was easy to grab and just long enough for it to be an easy exit. However, not too long where it's annoying. If you're watching this video after December 2nd, congrats, it's actually available. I'll have to look. Don't use this one in your vagina. I just dropped it. But of course, you can just boil it for 5 minutes. Also, you may be wondering, okay, so do I just buy it in the shelf and stick it up there? Not quite. You want to make sure that it's clean initially, right? It's going through the warehouse, the manufacturers, all the places, and you just want to make sure it's clean. So I suggest that you boil our cups for 5 minutes. Not every single time you put it in you, literally just before your period. So what you would do is boil it for 5 minutes, make sure it cools, because disclaimer, I don't want you to burn your vagina, right? So let it cool. Usually it cools really fast, and I tend to put mine under the sink in cold water anyway, just like I mentioned earlier, so that it's easier insertion. It creates the lubrication. So I do that anyway, which cools it down, but 5 minutes. And you don't have to do it like as soon as your period comes on, go to boil your cup, because that's inconvenient. Our cups come with a cute case, so you can boil it when you realize that your period's about to start. Boil it, put it in your case, and you're good to go. And you only boil for 5 minutes and only once per cycle. So your cycle begins the first day of your period. Your cycle is from the start of your period right through to the day before your period begins again. And it's often not that 28-day cycle that you're taught in schools. When we were in school, we were taught that your cycle is 28 days. At around the day 14 is when you're gonna ovulate, the egg begins to drop, you can get pregnant, run for the hills. Not quite. In fact, most people don't have 28-day cycles. They're either longer or shorter. And oftentimes, people don't ovulate in the middle or even 14 days before. Some people have short luteal phases. I'm getting into a whole nother topic here. Maybe that's a video for another day. Let me know if you're interested to learn about ovulation and how periods work below, and we'll get to that. But the whole point of me saying this is that we were taught a lot of crap in schools that just isn't accurate. You cannot put vaginas in a box. They call it a box, but you can't put us in a box. So if you've ever been to a supermarket or pharmacy or seen a menstrual cup online and been like, well, what is that? How do I use it? And why would I want to? It's my hope that you found this video helpful. We'll chat next time.